AJ Toyer, are they traditional one techniques, or how are you using those guys, and what do you get from them?
Yeah, Mozzie, we're still in the evaluation process with all those D tackles, and we're looking at those guys with a close eye. And it's important that they play the style that we, covet, and that's get off on the football and penetrate, play on the other side of the line of scrimmage, and then being able to shed blocks and make plays. But we are attack front, and it's important that he does that right and does that well. This is his first time in the system, as a lot of guys. So we're all learning as we go through the process here of how to play that way. And, he's doing a good job in the drills and all those things. But, again, we just got to keep evaluating that process. And we're all in a competition right now. Nothing's set in stone. Competition for playing time, competition for the roster. And we want it that way, so guys are competing.
Attack front, does that suit his skills? Because he's never done that before. Does that suit, what he does best?
I do think it does. I think his skill set, can do either. And I really think that he will be a good attack front guy.
Todd Archer with ESPN. Do you have a level of concern with your cornerback situation, given the health, not knowing when Diggs, Revel, they'll play?
Yeah, I think that anybody would have a level of concern. You have guys that are starting, that are all pro players, Pro Bowl players. A guy that's out like that is always a concern, when you're missing a piece like that. Because you got to move people around, and then there's competition behind. Last time I talked about the competition behind him, which is great, but when you have that level of a starter out, you're always concerned about it.
What's your thought on what you've seen from the Blues and Wamus and Rochellers and all those guys?
Yeah, just really about, those guys are still in the evaluation process. Those guys are competing. They're working hard. I really don't have much more comment than that. That's where they are, and that's what we're looking at. And we have two really good pads practices coming up, and we're excited about those as we move forward.
John Show with The Athletic. What was your initial impressions of Maris Neofau, and then what have you thought about him up to this point?
Yeah, I'm excited about how he's changed his body and how he's really starting to move better. So he lost a lot of weight, trimmed up, leaned up. And he's really moving efficiently. The biggest jump that he's going to make is refinement of detail. That's going to be the biggest thing for him, and that's his alignment and assignment and getting things down where his eyes are. He'll even play faster than what he does right now. So he's a work in progress, but he's made some good jumps here since the springtime.
What did you think of him specifically on Saturday?
I already knew this about him. I like his hitting ability. Some guys have innate ability to create leverage and power and strike, and he's one of those guys. And you saw that on a couple of plays. And but he has a really good ability to do that. So that was the most impressive thing to me about him.
Joe White, Dallas Morning News. Maybe a simple question, but in an attack front, how much responsibility goes on linebackers to really just sift through and kind of read?
Yeah, it's everybody, right? And it's everybody. So that the D-line plays a certain way, they're going to play on the other side of the line of scrimmage. Well, we understand the plays that people are going to run against us, so the linebackers have to be tied in with that. You can't have penetrating D-line and then lateral linebackers. That doesn't work. And then the corners and the safeties have to play into that too. It's teamwork, team defense, and everybody's tied into it. It's in the run game, everybody's tied into it, and then in the pass game, it's rush and cover and rush. They're both tied together too. So we're just trying to give those guys another tick to get home in the pass game, and those guys are rushing, and we're going to create situations, one-on-one matchups to slow, to quicken that clock up for the quarterback.
And as you're trying to find who the nickel corner is going to be, because I know Deron Bland's an option too, but Zion Childress got some reps with the ones last week, played well, I thought, in the game. What have you seen from Zion?
Yeah, Keemon and Zion have done a nice job in there. They're learning that position. That is an important position for us. We've had some good ones in the past. And those guys are working real hard to get there. And of course, we've had Duran in there as well. So big-time competition in there. We'll keep evaluating those guys. And, you have to be quick when you play in there. And you also have to be stout because you're, asked to play a lot of inner gaps like the B gap, the A gap, all those different gaps that you have, C gap in the run game. So it's important that those guys are stout, in their tackling ability, but also have the ability to be quick and cover in that seam flat area.
Tommy Arst, DallasCowboys.com. I know he only had 10 or so snaps Saturday, but Donovan Ezraku, what's been your evaluation of him up to this point now that he's had two really instances of playing on the team?
Yeah, I think he falls into the rookie category. Love his talent, love his work ethic. He's a grinder. And when you get into that first game, a lot of times, things start to speed up a little bit. Your technique isn't as good as it was in practice, and that's for all the rookies and all the young players. So this is a great experience for him, and it's happened to the best of them. So he's and he had a good solid game. I'm not saying that, but he's just he'll keep improving. This would be the first game to the second game is going to be a big improvement for him.
Circling back to Izzy Mukwamba really quickly, can you just talk about the benefit of having a guy his size that also shows versatility on the outside as well as the nickel? Yeah, that was a great play he made. The interception that he had was awesome, and the ability to cover tight ends, cover corners, and cover in the slot. That's a unique skill set. And then also be able to play the run a little bit too. So he's been doing good in there. He's been our Swiss Army knife. We've been moving him all around and working to find a place for him in terms of what fits him best, what's his skill set works at for him and for us. So I'm excited about him.
Garrett Podell, CBS Sports. Matt, what have you seen from Sam Williams back off the knee injuries? Been aggressive in practice. What have you thought of him so far?
Yeah, he's been grinding and working, man. I love his toughness. His movement skill is all the way back, so he's back, in the fold there. So he's a very versatile piece, move him inside, move him outside. But I love his power and his strength, in the run game and also the pass rush. So he's exciting he's an exciting player for me.
What about it, like in terms of his inside rush ability going in?
Just his length and quickness in there. We have a lot of guys that can flex in and out, so we're excited about those combinations. But he's certainly one of those guys. But he has power and length to be able to play in there with those guys.
Nick Harris, four-star Telegram. You have a lot of talented defensive ends in that room. How has that competition just overall been here at training camp? Is it the best group of ends you've had in your career?
Yeah, I've had some good tackles in the past. I've had a couple good ends, but not this many. So it's been a pleasure to work with those guys because they're really a tight group. The camaraderie in the room has been great. They're want to learn, and, the system and learning it better, and they grind out there in the practice field. So they have everything they need to really play at the level we need them to play at. So I'm excited for that group too.
When you start looking at Philly, is it after preseason or do you do some initial viewing? What's your process there?
Yeah, 8 months ago, I already started.
Dave, and finish with Christy.
Dave Loffberg, 105.3 The Fan, Cowboys Radio Network. Suppose you see these guys out there, especially obviously the young guys. You think you got a handle, you think and then they play. Some of them take a step back. I'm
Yep.
not asking who those guys were, but who were the guys that all of a sudden jumped back and gave you a little more than I thought?
Yeah, I'm not going to make comments on particular players, but I will say this, that, there's several guys that did that. But again, it's got to be a consistent performance. If you did play well, let's give another performance here in the next 2 days in practice, and let's show up in the next game. Because we really believe that competition throughout the roster is a good thing for everybody, and we're going to continue that. You'll see different combinations out there, different people lined up at different spots to create that competition, and it's real. Because guys are stepping up, younger players are stepping up. It's a competitive roster, and we have to set that competition out there on the practice field, and we'll set it up in the game too.
How about one guy?
Babe Laufenberg. Yeah.
Oh, get in line.
Yeah, that's right.
Christy Scales, Cowboys Radio on 105.3 The Fan. Elijah Clark left the game in the fourth quarter with one of his doctors. Is he going to be okay? Do you expect that you'll have him this week? I know it's a big week.
Yeah, I don't know yet. I don't know. I think we'll get the medical tomorrow. We'll see where he is. Hopefully he's out there for practice. Again, there's a time element here. Wait and see, but hopefully he's good to go.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. Thanks, guys.